Cougars and Razorbacks as we continue BYU Sports Nation live from Provo and Fayetteville. Jarom, Jordan, Spencer, Linton. Let's now bring in the #1 private quarterback coach in the world. He's our homie. He has started, a new series on YouTube where he's breaking down plays. John Beck's on the show. John, what's going on, man? How you doing?
How are you guys? I'm doing good.
We're great. I love what you're doing with Why They Do It. Subscribe on YouTube. Why They Do It. You're breaking down plays, the X's and O's. It's awesome. Why did you feel like this year you want to start doing that and kind of share next-level football info with everybody?
You know, it's been something that, like, when I've had opportunities to watch games with friends, family, people I know, they love asking questions. And sometimes they'll say, like, oh, well, why did this happen? Why did that not work out? And they look at me and I'll be like, well, did you see this? This is the protection. This is the coverage. This is what's going on. This is the play. And they're always so interested in it. And then you get football people that are like trying to learn, right? Coaches, players, they just love all of that insight. They love all that knowledge. And I thought, I'm watching all these games because of my relationship with the quarterbacks and the coaches. I'm able to see what they see. I know what's going on. And I thought, wow, what a cool perspective if I can share that. It's not only enhancing the experience for the fans of what's going on in the game, but it's also giving a little bit clearer picture to those that are trying to know more about football. Those players that maybe are in the high school, junior high level, and they would love to know what's going on in those BYU football games in terms of the passing concepts, the run game, what's the quarterback being asked to do. So that was kind of like the genesis of all of it. And, the more that I reached out to people that I knew, they all were like, oh, dude, you got to do this. I think this would be rad. So, I went ahead and pulled the trigger and we're doing it.
John, I love what you're doing to educate the fans and give them more of that in-depth perspective. And I think it's only fitting that I'm at a golf course. Granted, it's in Arkansas, but at a golf course, because when you first asked me about this Why They Do It thing and my thoughts on it, I was on a golf course. We've come full circle here. That said, I would love for you to educate people on what you're seeing from Kedon Slovis. How would you assess BYU's quarterback play through the first 2 games of the season?
I think it's been good. It's been okay. Like, I know Kedon, I know what he's capable of. I think this last game, you got to see more of, like, what the offense was capable of, what Kedon was capable of. That first game, I don't think it was Kedon, like, by any means being nervous. I don't think it was any of that, right? I think it was just, for whatever reason, things just weren't clicking like they needed to or like what BYU was accustomed to. So I'm really excited because up to this point, I think it's been good. I think he's had some really, really good throws. You look at some of those deep overthrows. You look at that seam bender that he threw to Isaac last week. He fit that in a tight window. Kedon has the ability to make so many throws and to be very, very accurate. So we saw a glimpse of that last week. My hope for this week is that Kedon, at his full potential, best efficient games, shows up this week, and this is what we get tomorrow.
The BYU run game has certainly struggled, 79 yards per game. Last game, Southern Utah loaded the box. Aaron Roderick said, okay, we'll just throw over the top of it. That's what worked in that game. What do you feel like BYU is missing in the run game in order to beat a team like Arkansas tomorrow?
So on tape, when you see the capability, you see the potential. But here and there we're so close. We're right on the edge. Or the defense is doing something where they're looping somebody, there's a twist, and we don't pick it up quite correctly. So to me, it's just growth. Like, I don't think it's a personnel thing. I don't think it's like we got to change who's up front. I think it's just growth. Can that growth as a unit happen for this week? Because it really is a unit. It's like sending guys out on a basketball court, right? You got 5 players. They have to be in sync. There has to be chemistry. There has to be flow and understanding. It's the same with an offensive line. They're working with the guys next to them. When the defense run those games up front, it's the chemistry you have with the guy next to you, and that takes growth. That takes reps. So to me, it's a matter of growth. Can that growth happen quick enough, soon enough? Can it happen now so that this upcoming game we're able to be in the run game what we're capable of?
LJ Martin is going to get the start at running back for BYU as a true freshman, John. And Aaron Roderick made that very public on Wednesday this week that he's going to go with the young guy and that he's been the best with the ball in his hands. We've all seen the film. We've all seen what he's been able to produce in limited carries. Do you feel like LJ Martin is the spark that will get this run game going?
Well, I think he's been able to overcome, because of the way that he runs with the football, he's been able to overcome some of the things that kind of got us in some of the aspects of the run game, meaning when it wasn't quite as clean as we want, he was able to break tackles, get the extra yards, make things happen when not everything was there. The run that you guys are showing right now, when I see that run, like, that's a freshman Luke Staley. He is one of the closest I've seen in watching BYU football for a long time that reminds me of a young Luke Staley. And so when you have some things in the run game, when your O-line's trying to iron some things out, to have a guy that can break some tackles, to have a guy that can make something happen, it's great. And that's probably why he's getting the nod, because it may not be clean on every rush attempt, but can he make something happen when nothing's really there?
Meanwhile, the BYU defense is much improved from last year. We haven't seen them truly tested after Sam Houston, Southern Utah per se. They'll certainly get that against Arkansas. What are some of the biggest differences you've noticed from this BYU defense this year?
I mean, I like the intensity. I like the way that they fly around the field. I think you can tell when there's a belief in what they're doing. You know, and I was in an era where BYU kind of transitioned to Bronco Mendenhall as a defensive coach, and you could kind of see this character change. You could kind of see, like, the identity change is probably the best thing, right? Like, they're still having some things where they're working through some things, and teams are still getting some plays where they get some positive yards and whatnot. They score points. But it's like this identity that you see from the players on the field. It shows up in the style of play. Like, I love these clips that you're showing, right? So many plays where you got so many people in the picture, so many hats on the ball, right? There's also been a lot of plays that have been made because of what I call effort-based plays, right? And that's really, truly built in the identity of the defense, right? They're bringing blitzes. They want to bring pressure. It's the mentality of the defensive coordinator, and it shows in the way his players are playing.
John Beck is with us on BYU Sports Nation. I think most fans, and frankly, many members of the media, myself included, can't exactly speak for Jarom here, but I think most of us are a little unsure of what type of game to expect tomorrow, because Arkansas hasn't really played a powerful opponent, and neither has BYU. Both teams are 2-0. John, what type of game are you anticipating tomorrow when the Razorbacks and Cougars square off?
Well, you know, when you watch the Kent State game, Arkansas tries to do what they do, who they are. KJ Jefferson is a dynamic football player, right? They're going to utilize him in the run game. They're going to ask him to run QB power, but they're also going to try to stretch the field with the mid to deep passing game. It took them a little bit to kind of get going in that game against Kent State, right? And Kent State by no means is any different from any of the teams that BYU's been playing for the first 2 games of the season. So I don't know if we totally know what either one of these teams really is going to look like against each other. You know, when Jarom was talking about the matchup, saying this could be a game where the game's won in the 20s, right? That may be the case. I would love to see BYU go off. I would love to see them capitalize on some things. On the defensive side of the ball, Arkansas loves to get to, in certain passing situations, empty formations. They love to get to shell coverages, but they're not afraid to bring pressure off the edge with the safeties. So to a degree, they are going to be a bit aggressive. And if BYU can protect the quarterback, capitalize on some of those aggressive looks, I think it can open for some of that mid-tiered passing range, passes against pressure looks. So that gives the opportunity for chunk plays. I think if BYU can create some chunk plays, if on defense we can slow them down in the run game that they try to utilize with the quarterback, I think that can be a big advantage for us. Arkansas is going to try to run a lot of plays. They do at times hurry up and get really quick to the football. And I think that if we can create situations where we get them off the field quickly, meaning they get on the field, they run 3 quick plays, we cause them to punt, we're back on the field. I think that's a way for BYU to help them get in a rhythm offensively, get us more offensive plays, sustain drives, and put points on the board. To me, I think that's where BYU can win this football game. Point-wise, I don't know what it's going to look like. Run game-wise, you know, Arkansas's got some very athletic guys in the box. You look at some of the things that they do with their linebackers. They're also, like, they had an interception in the box the other day. Kent State tried to throw a ball, and one of their linebackers, as he was blitzing, settled his feet, went up in the air, and picked it off. There's athleticism there in the box, and we're going to need to be really good with our feet in our run game. This is probably, of all the defenses we've played up to this point, the most athletic. I won't necessarily say the quickest. Sam Houston State had some very quick linebackers in the box, but because of the size and and athleticism, this may test BYU a little bit. So I think it's going to be exciting. To say what I can expect, I don't know. I'm kind of right there with you guys, how you said we don't know what to expect.
We're also hoping and expecting good things from Zach Wilson as he takes over the starting quarterback job with Aaron Rodgers out with an Achilles. You've worked with Zach for years now. He's a different guy after getting some time with Aaron, obviously being a third-year guy in the league and working with you. What are you hoping for and expecting from Zach Wilson now that he's the guy with a very good Jets defense behind him?
Yeah, that was a shocking, that happened quick. Zach and I had talked at times about you never know what can happen, right? This is kind of the year of Aaron Rodgers. That's the way it was set up in the offseason. That was the way it was set up for training camp. And Zach was enjoying it. He was enjoying the opportunity to learn from Aaron. Aaron was very open with his knowledge, with his experience, wanting to help Zach. But we always kind of said, man, you just never know. You got to be ready. And who would have thought that in 3 plays, Zach would be out there again? So he's confident. I know he's excited for the opportunity. Did it come much quicker or in a different way than anybody expected? Absolutely. To a degree, like I wish Zach could have seen more of Aaron Rodgers in the regular season. I think there would have been some great things for him to learn watching Aaron go about his process, the way that he approached games, the way that he played. I think those things could have been good for Zach, and that's what kind of this year was supposed to be. But given the circumstance, he's right back in the driver's seat, and he's got a tough slate ahead of him. To be the starter, to go in unexpectedly in that game, to play, to win, and now have to go on the road to Dallas. I mean, these are some challenges. This is going to be a tough one against that Dallas front. But he's confident. He's excited. He likes the situation his team is in and the guys around him. So for me, those are the things that you hope for as a starting quarterback, that he feels that way about his situation. It's really tough in the league when you can't have those feelings about your situation because of the circumstance you're in. So to me, he's confident, he's excited. That's a great thing going forward. And now will be a big test because this Dallas defense is tough.
Yeah, it's a tough first start there on the road at Dallas. But best of luck to Zach. And we appreciate the insight, John. We want everyone to subscribe to Why They Do It, the letter Y, They Do It, on YouTube. Thanks, John.
Yeah, you guys are welcome. Thanks for having me on.